Hello and welcome back. As you might be able to tell from the thumbnail, I just competed in my first tournament at 31 years of age, and I got a medal. I'm not going to say if it's a participation medal or if I did well. So my goal going into this tournament was to get 1.5 out of 4 points. I felt that was a reasonable and realistic goal to have. The tournament was 4 rounds, Swiss, of 30-minute games with 5-second delay. And if you know me, I have a hard time with time. So delay was a little weird. I couldn't ever gain time, but it took a little bit to get used to. And anyway, I guess I'll hop into the first game. Here we go. I played the white pieces here on my first game. And I have their name, Kian, but I'm not going to put the rest of his name because he was a younger kid. And that was my worst nightmare, that I'm going to come in here and I'm going to play a little 8-year-old kid and get absolutely mollywopped by him. So this was my very first game and I was shaking. My hands were just freaking trembling just because this is my first tournament ever, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to do well. For 2 to 3 days prior, I was just debating if I should go d4 or e4. With e4, I have a lot of knowledge, but if I go e4 and they play the Sicilian, I'm pretty lost. My go-to is c3, but there's several lines of it that I don't know. But in the end, I decided to go e4. And so I did. Opponent responded with d6. This confused me. I didn't know what he was going to do. So I went knight c3. And he went knight f6. I still didn't know what we were doing, which it should be obvious. Should be obvious, right? But then I play bishop c4, which not a great move. Not a great move at all. I should have just taken control of the center here. So after this, he goes g6. And then it became clear to me what he's playing. He's playing the King's Indian defense, or the Pirks. And so I was upset at myself for playing this move as soon as I noticed that, because I should have gone this. Because I have a lot of prep with this line. So my goal from here was to transpose into my prep. So I go d4 here, bishop g7, f4, castles. So all of this is right aside from my bishop being here. There's a line that I love playing here, which is e5. But I like playing it before they castle. But I still go for the move e5. And takes with queen trade. He goes h5. And I bring my bishop back, which isn't the best move. But I bring it back, allow him to take, and I open up my rook. However, I do hang e5. And that's okay. So I decide to go knight d5, putting pressure on c7 so I can get this rook. Thankfully, he did not see it. He played bishop f6. And I take. He takes my pawn on b2, and I get his rook. And I get a big sigh of relief. It's like, I have this game in my hand now. We're good. He checks me. I move f1. And I play knight f3. And I'm feeling good about my position now. He brings it back. And in this situation, I spent about 3 minutes looking at this sacrifice. It looks so good. And normally it's something that I would play in a heartbeat. But with it being my first tournament ever, I was trying to just play it super careful. And just do okay. And actually, funny enough, this is one of the absolute best moves. And I should have done it. And I had many opportunities too, and I didn't do it. Instead, I play a weird move. Play rook h4. I was going to double up my rooks here. and then go for the sack. But things went a little differently than I had planned. He plays bishop f5, and so I attack with my knight, and I'm also defending my c2 pawn. He moves his knight, revealing this attack. But instead of worrying about my knight, I take his bishop to weaken his king, and I still completely ignore my knight. I push g4. He ignores g4 and he takes my knight, and then I take his pawn. He pushes a6 after a little bit of waiting, and then here, I make a mistake. It seemed like a good idea. It seemed like there was only one way that this could go. I decided to go f6. Because if he takes, then he's hanging his bishop. And if he doesn't, and he just moves forward, I'm guarding this square now. And it's going to be very bad for black. But what I did not see, for some reason, is that he can just take with the knight. And I'm just blundering. But thankfully, he didn't see it either. And he took with the pawn and hung his bishop. Then he moves his knight, attacking my bishop. I sidestep it. And he moves his knight back. And at this point, I just take. He recaptures. I take here. Double up, let him take. And here I'm threatening main one. He checks me. And then I made him. So that was my first game. My nerves were everywhere. They were absolutely everywhere. It was not a clean game. It gave me like 84 accuracy. Yeah, 84 accuracy. I wish I had played d4 this game, or just realized earlier that he was going into a King's Indian for a Pirks. Well, on to game 2. So game 2, I play with the black pieces. And I had just decided before the tournament, against e4, I'm going to meet it with e5, which I did. Got knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, Italian. And I decided to go knight f6, provoking the fried liver. However, she did not take the bait, and she went d3. So d3 is a pretty passive move. A lot of people go here, then here, or then here instead. But it's a pretty passive move. We're going into the Gyoko piano, which is very, very passive, very very slow. She castles, and I play d6, preparing to move my bishop. And she goes h3. Now in this position, okay, if you ever watch me play and I get into a position similar to this, there's always a trap that I really like to go for. And it doesn't work against super high rated people, but people around my elo, it works a decent amount of the time. And it's called a fishing pole trap. Now, there's a very specific way you need to do that. And in this position, and I blitzed this out. I had so much confidence whenever I played this move. I just blitzed it. What is the worst move that you could play in this position? With confidence, I played knight to g4. And the moment I sat it down, I realized I had not played h5 yet. She takes. and I sink my head into my hands. And I hang my head. I walked out of the first game with so much confidence. I walked into the second game, I had just way too much confidence. I sat here for a minute, just contemplating. I almost just resigned right there. I was like, no, this is my first tournament ever. I've got to at least try. Maybe there's some possible way that I can actually get a draw. And so I decided to continue on. I take back with the bishop. Is there a way for me to turn off? There we go. I take back with the bishop. She reinforces her knight. And then I go knight d4, looking to trade. She pushes c3, best move. Take. And I go queen f6, trying to create an attack on their king. She goes bishop e3. And in this position, I'm down 3 points. I decide that I need to create some sort of inequality or chaos. If there's any way I ever plan on getting a draw. And I long castle, which was actually a terrible move. I'm now 4 points behind. She takes, I take back, and then she plays queen e2. Best move. I go rook e8. She plays queen e3. Best move again. And I go queen g6. And my plan is to take advantage of this pin. She pushes d4. I choose to ignore it. And I go h3. Now, in hindsight, I didn't realize that she could go knight h4 and then completely destroy my attack. But thankfully, she didn't see it either. However, she did see this, and I calculated this here, and then I calculated here. And that's actually what happened. So she played queen g5, wanting to trade queens, and she's up a lot. Right now, eval bar rates me 4.5 points in her favor. And if I queen traded here, then there's zero chance of me doing anything in this game. So I decided to take on e4. She takes, and I take. Her queen's in line with her king, and it's very vulnerable now. But she goes queen g4 check, forcing the queen trade. I have to partake. We trade pawns. And now the position is finally equal, point-wise. Eval bar still has me at -3. She attacks my pawn, and this is probably the second longest think I had in the game. There were a few options I wanted to do. It was either rook e4 or c5. And I debated those and calculated those lines for a while. In the end, I decided to go c5. And then she went here, taking my pawn, and then I counterattacked. She attacks my rook. I get the pawn with check. She side steps, and then I attack her bishop and pawn. She checks me. She defends the pawn, and I play rook e8, pawning the bishop to the rook, planning on going king d6 next. As soon as I make it a king d6, about to win this bishop, she plays a great move. Bishop g4. She can't do this because of this. She has to take back this way, and then I get a pawn. And that's actually what happened. I take, she takes, and I get the pawn. And I'm, for the first time in this game, and I'm up a single pawn. King G1. This is as far as I calculated. And then I come back to Rook F6. She attacks my pawn. And I go H5. And as soon as I played H5, I was like, I should have gone H6 and then G5. But Rook G2, best move. And I decided to go Rook F3, putting pressure. She plays Bishop E4, which was a good move. But then I play Rook F7. I'm defending this and this. She attacks my rook again. I sidestep. She gets a pawn. It's equal material again. And in this position, I decide that I need to push my pawns. I need to create some sort of pressure. And so I decide to push B5. She comes back, threatening B5. So I push C4. And this is the point in the game where it turns a little bit. She pushes B3. I guess just thinking that I'm going to trade. And as soon as she played B3, I smelt blood in the water. I don't take here. I decide to go D3. And she kind of sunk in her chair a little bit. I felt bad whenever I played that, because she was playing so well. And after this move, she played this move very fast. She was upset, and she played Bishop D1. And as soon as she played it, she realized the mistake she made. Check. And I got the bishop. I'm up a piece, and eval bar rates me at 7 now, in my favor. She checks, I move forward, check, move forward, takes. I push my pawn forward, is now one move away from promoting. She takes, I take back with the king. And here I was contemplating just checking and then promoting with check. But I decided to just go Rook A1. She just checks me over and over. I promote, check, here. I was fine with the queen trade. And I went here, so if she checks me, I can bring the queen in front and she has to trade, or it's mate in one. We do trade, and this is mate in one. I win the game. I came back from this stupid plunder. I end the second round 2-0. Halfway through my first tournament ever. After playing chess for 1 year. And I'm 2-0. So after that wild game, we go into the third. And this game, and I played E4. He played E5. I went to the Vienna. He went knight F6, initiating the Vienna gambit. If you take here, it gets really rocky for black. And he chose a line that really wasn't much better. But he went knight here. So I take D4, knight back, E5. He goes back. I developed my knight. He pushed D6. And I went here. I'm completely comfortable in this line. I'm up 1.8 right now. I'm doing extremely well. And I can't tell you how it wound up to this, but my opponent played so freaking well. And we wound up in this position. I don't have the notations for it, but this is the exact position that we wound up in. It's white to move. This is a completely even position. He came back from that terrible opening for him and made it into this. We're both completely even. Eval rates us at 0.0. And in this situation, I made the worst move of the tournament. Even worse than last game. The last thing I want for him to do is to get on my second rank and start taking my pawns. When I probably should have gone down here. I did something so bad. I decided to guard my pawns. And he instantly played rook d1. I resigned. And I lost. I lost. Lost a whole point. So after my third round, I was 2-1. I had to shake that off. And this guy, he was awesome. We talked about the entire game. After it was over, we talked about it for several minutes. It was super cool. On to the fourth game. So the fourth game, I'll actually just go to here. The fourth game, I played the white pieces again, and I decided to go e4, and my opponent went c5. Luckily, because I was so unprepared for Sicilian, the 2 days prior to this, I actually studied the Alpine Sicilian and studied White's worst moves and White's best moves. And he went knight f6, and we played this line. As soon as they go knight f6, you push e5, and then they go here. Because if they go here, then you instantly trap their knight. Here, and then d3, their knight's trapped. But he went here. I played d4, and then it was take, and at a good position. And this game, unfortunately, I did not notate either. But I do have a snapshot of the last position that we were in. I got a good position out of the opening, and then we transposed into this. Several moves later, I'm up a pawn. I have this battery. I took advantage of it earlier. Checked him, got a free pawn. And in this position, I found a checkmating idea. And I went knight to g5. And after knight to g5, he decided to counterattack. And he went b5, attacking my knight. Luckily for me, I was going to play this move, or this move, no matter what. It didn't matter if it was a pawn. I was planning on sacrificing this bishop, but it just turns out he hung his rook. And he took back, not realizing that I just played knight g5 setting up. Mate on h7. This was actually the fastest game of the tournament. This one probably lasted about 8-9 minutes, maybe. But that was the end of my tournament. I ended 3-1, 3 points out of 4. And the only loss that I had was this, where I completely deserved it. I left my back rank open. And I got back ranked. All in all, I'm very happy with my performance. Okay, not my performance, but the outcome, I guess. Now this, I'm super proud of that. I have a tangible token of memorabilia that I can take with me forever of my very first chess tournament. And that's special to me. I think that's so cool. My opponents were awesome. I had such a terrific experience from my very first tournament, and I cannot wait to go to the next one. And I ended the tournament in second place. The guy that won the tournament is the one that back ranked me. He ended 4-0, and I went 3-1. Got second place, and I'm happy with it. I'm sorry this is a longer video, and that I rambled so much, but that was my very first tournament, and I can't wait to go to the next one. Thank you for watching. If any of you actually watched all the way through, I seriously appreciate you. And thanks for motivating me to keep going. You guys take care. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.